Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Rise up! Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, USA Today's NFL Wire site, covering, of course, the Arizona Cardinals. Joining me is my co-host, Seth Cox from RevengeOfTheBirds.com, SB Nation's Arizona Cardinals site, as we look ahead to the Cardinals' second preseason game, but really the first regular week of the preseason. The Cardinals are on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. Jacoby Brissett's going to play a little bit. Carson Beck's going to play some. Everyone's going to play. We're going to see the Raiders play everyone. But before we talk about what we want to see in this game, Monti Ossenfort, general manager of the Cardinals, addressed the media at training camp on Monday. And there's a couple of stories that are worth talking about, mainly contract extensions and something he said about being a competitive team. But Seth, before we get to the preseason stuff, let us talk about what he said about contract extensions, namely Michael Wilson, because it was kind of a telling thing. And we talked about the potential of a Wilson extension and how Wilson doesn't need to do anything. And it's weird because it's very clear that the Cardinals want to sign into a long-term deal, but the thing that Monty said, well, that's a tough word. Do you expect to get a contract done with them? He thought, ooh, expect's kind of a tough word. And that kind of tells us something about how negotiations are going down, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of those situations that you look at and you just see that they're probably not on the same page right now. And it sounds like it's Jacoby Brissett maybe over again, right? Of like, we've got a number in our mind that you're beyond that number. So we'll wait until you're back at the number we want to be, right? Like, or closer to the number, or your play gets you to the number you want to be at, like one of those two things. And so it's interesting. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, well, and in terms of numbers, like we've talked about it, like when you see Christian Watson get a deal that's worth $23 million per year, and that guy hasn't even scratched 600-700 yards in a season, I'm like, there's no way Wilson's going to settle for less than $20 million. It's going to be 20, and he's looking for market rate. He's looking for market rated receiver, as he should. So I'm sure his number is probably right around the 24-25 million, and the Cardinals are probably significantly lower than that. And we know that Wilson doesn't have to settle, because if he does reasonably close to what he did last year, if he's healthy, this is a guy that could pull $30 million in the next offseason as a free agent.
Yeah, and that's, you've got a team that is notoriously slow on getting things done and getting them done in a way that benefits the team more than the player. And I know that's, you and I are very comfortable with how they deal with everything, but at the same time, when you look at all of it, you've got really a team and a roster that is devoid of cornerstones. I mean, we've talked about it, right? Like, this is not a shot at Trey McBride. He is probably the best player at his position in the NFL. But when your best two players are a tight end and a safety, you're in a bad spot from a roster building standpoint. right? Like it's not ideal. And so when you look at it from that perspective and you go, all right, we could have a really high end wide receiver 2, potentially low end wide receiver 1 on a decent contract. And they're going, well, we don't want to pay you top end wide receiver 2 money right now. And that, again, this is you and I just spitballing, theoretical. We're not saying this is what we're hearing, just kind of parsing things together. You go, well, are they hoping that Marvin Harrison breaks out and they're going to pay him first? Like, I'm kind of interested to see how this all unfolds, because to me it just doesn't make sense to allow it to get to this point with another player, right?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And plus, I mean, from a team perspective, I mean, what have we seen from Michael Wilson? We've seen 3 monster games. What was it? A third of his production came from 3 games. He hasn't performed at a high level with Harrison on the field. And honestly, maybe that was just the offensive system that they had under Drew Petzing. Michael Wilson described it pretty well. Like, that offensive system, it gets the tight end involved, it gets the X involved, and then you check down to the running back. And so there weren't a lot of opportunities for the Z receiver, and he put up big numbers when he was the X. And we saw, Zay Jones, when Marvin Harrison got concussed and Zay Jones came into the game, the X was productive. This season, Wilson should have a prominent role if in fact that his usage will sort of match Puka Nacua. I'm not saying that by no means that we're expecting him to be a leading receiver, but if he's secondhand store, if he's Walmart version, great value Puka Nacua, that's still pretty freaking good, because a drop off from 129 catches down to 80 to 90 catches is still a fantastic year for a wide receiver 2.
100%. And that's one of the big things, right? Like, you still want a solid wide receiver 2, and people might say, well, what if he's wide receiver 1? And it's like, well, I think we look at this as a wide receiver 2 in the sense of, it could be for the team, or it could be behind Trey McBride, right? Like, it's not necessarily means that he's the second receiver. It just could mean he's the, when you look at how Mike LaFleur's offense may function, it could be a guy like, it could be a McBride and then the running back situation, or especially once Love kind of takes over. So you just see a guy that, hasn't exactly earned high-end wide receiver 2 money, but you also wonder if it's going to be too late, and then it's going to be like low-end wide receiver 1 money too, right?
Yeah, and that's totally how that's going to go. In terms of other contracts, but Ossenfort, waffled saying, well, if you've seen us do it, we've done contract extensions before, in the off season, during training camp, during the season, and like, he didn't rule out anything, but we didn't really get anything concrete about any of the other guys, about Paris Johnson, about any of the guys like Yelda Froholt or Mac Wilson, who are entering the final year of their deal. So let's kind of move on from that. Coming up next on the Res Is Here podcast, the best our Cardinals talk on the web. Monti Ossenfort had some interesting comments about what he expects from this team, and maybe we think he's delusional. That's coming up next on Res Is Here Red. We're back on the Res Is Here podcast, the best our Cardinals talk on the web. Monti Ossenfort, one of the things that he was asked about was the roster construction and what he thinks about the competing this year. He suggested that he believes that this team can make the playoffs, that it's a competitive team, that the guys that they've added make them competitive. Although it's one of the interesting things in the fact that one of the comments that he made about the defensive line, he was like, we've got some guys who've played some snaps. I'm like, one of the greatest traits of the guys you brought in is that they've played games. I don't know. But how is what is there anything that we could have expected Ossenfort to say other than what he said, or is he really kind of delusional about what his expectations are for this team?
I don't know if he's delusional right now. I just know that right now he doesn't have the benefit of the doubt that he has put together a good roster. And so when you look at it from that perspective, those are really, interesting things to say. But I mean, on the flip side, what else is he going to come out and say is like, oh, I don't believe in our I don't believe in what we have and who we are. Like he can't say that either, right?
Yeah. I'm like, but do you think that this team can be competitive? And I'm not talking about within the division, okay? But can they? Is this a team that's going to be a competitive, middling team? Is that even that too much to ask?
I mean, for me, it's always dependent on what the defense is going to do, right? And when you look at this roster as a whole, there are just so many questions from the defense. And then you still do have the, giant neon red flag in the room of who's the quarterback going to be? Like, until those two things are consistently figured out, it's really, really difficult to look at them as more than a team that is likely to struggle based on what we know about them right now. It doesn't mean they will struggle. It's hard to look at anything other than that until we see more.
Right. I think at best case scenario. So I think in a best case scenario that all the additions that made are capable and healthy, then this defense is a below average, just not terrible defense, and that the offense is above average. So I think in a best case scenario, this is a 6 or 7 win team. And that's with, best case scenario. So is that a competitive team? I guess it depends on how they're losing their games. But I just think that even with a better offensive scheme, they've got the skill players. Unless the defense is average, I think kind of some of the goals they have offensively are going to be hard to do if they want to be a run first team, a power running team that builds off of that. They're going to have to stay close at least. And, pass rush wise, they've got nothing. They've got nothing outside of Josh Sweat, and we don't even have Josh Sweat yet. And so can they be decent against the run? Can they make plays on balls down the field? Because they're not going to get much pressure on quarterbacks. And if they're at least okay, I think that's the best case scenario. And maybe that's what Monty's talking about, that the best case scenario is this team is competitive. And if you're competitive, maybe with a little luck and a couple of balls bouncing your way, you can sneak into the postseason if the NFC isn't as top heavy as it was a year ago.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you look at is that if the NFC isn't a juggernaut once again, maybe there are things that you can do. But overall, this is a team in a division that it makes it very difficult to see where they are going to be able to compete consistently. So until they start to do that, it's hard to see them do that, right?
Yeah, it's until we see Jacoby Brissett leading them to victories. And that's different. Like, he can play well, but Jacoby's never been one to make the plays when it matters the most type of guy. We'll need that. The Cardinals need that from him from time to time to be able to do that. Otherwise, they're just going to be a productively below average team to bad team, depending on a lot of other things. And so, yeah, I mean, what else is Ossenfort going to say? But other than we're going to be competitive, because you can't say publicly, well, this year's going to be the struggle, and sell that to your guys in the locker room.
Right. I mean, what are you going to do? Be like, oh yeah, we don't believe in them at all, but here we go.
We're looking forward to a draft. We're looking forward to a top 3 pick and getting the quarterback of the future. Sorry, Jacoby.
I know.
Oh, man. Yeah. Coming up next on the Rise of Steer podcast, Mr. Cardinals talk. Let's talk about the preseason game. What do we want to see against the Raiders? That's coming up next on Rise of Steer Red. We're back again. We're back on the Rise of Steer podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. Top final segment. The Cardinals and the Raiders play Thursday evening at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, kicking off at 8 p.m. Eastern, so it's 5 o'clock our time here in Arizona. We know that everyone's going to play. Everyone who's healthy is going to play. Jacoby Brissett, starters, Jeremiah Love, we're going to at least a couple of series before they come out. We're basically going to see the entire roster. And from what I just saw, that from Clint Kubiak, head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, that's also the case for them. Even Kirk Cousins is going to play. So we will get some ones-on-ones early. And so I guess the first thing I want to see is to see production on either side of the ball versus the Raider starters.
Yeah, I mean, that's like you said, that's the thing that we want to see is something positive from the starters. And that's on both sides of the ball. Like we've talked about, the offense we feel semi-confident in based on what we've heard and seen at training camp. There's very little confidence in the defense right now. And that's from training camp. That's from what we've seen in the preseason. I know it was one preseason game, like, and then just what the names on the depth chart look like. So will a strong performance quell that? No, but it will make you less concerned if the starters come out, play 2 series, don't give up any points. You go, okay, well, at least we know that they can compete with the Raiders starters, which is bottom tier of the NFL stuff. And that's genuinely all you're looking at, right? Even if the offense is terrible, we're going to go, well, it would have been nice if Jacoby was here all offseason to get into the offense. But we'll give it until, week 2, basically. But, like, the defense, nothing's changed. Yeah, you have some new parts in there, but, like, it's still the Nick Rallis defense. So it's either these guys are good and know how to play this defense, or the defense is terrible and the players are good, or it's a combination of everything's not very good.
Yeah. And obviously, as well, we want key players to stay healthy. Like, if Jeremiah is going to get 3 carries, he needs to come out of that game clean. Same with Tyler Algier. Honestly, we need to see something from Trey Benson, so hopefully he can get back on the field, because if he can't get back on the field for this game, I don't know what is in store for him in his career. Carson Beck, I want to see a repeat performance of confidence and production against, playing in the second half. And, just build on that last performance, because if there is any hope that he could be the guy, and honestly, wouldn't it be fun if he played well enough to cause a controversy over the last few weeks? That would be kind of fun. That'd be fun for us, because it would give otherwise what is a very uninteresting year. It could add some spice to that, to the notion that Carson Beck, future starter, does that change anything with their draft plans beyond that? Because, or does that put them in purgatory again because they've got a guy that's good but not great? I don't know, but I want to see Carson Beck do well. I'm even willing to accept the chatter that comes with it that he should start week 1, or the not like the potential of a quarterback controversy in the preseason, even if there really isn't, because that would be a net positive when it went regarding the narrative around Carson Beck.
Right, and that's the thing. You know, we don't know. We're not sure. And when you get done, you look at everything and you see a team that doesn't have, like, it's not even rudderless, right? It right now it doesn't even have a sail. Like you have a boat and it's got a lot of holes that need to be patched. And you look at it from that perspective and you go, how do we fix this? And Carson Beck, unfortunately for him, right? That's the first thing that fixes a lot of things, right?
Yes, it is. Is there anything else that you would
I mean,
that you're looking forward to?
I guess Jeremiah Love and making a big play and then not playing for 3 more weeks.
You want to see kind of separation from guys. I don't know if you want to see separation. I want to see both Denzel Burke and Max Melton play well. Like there's one half where you want to see a player separate themselves from the guy they're competing with. But at the same time, it would be great if both play really well so that it's not quite so obvious at those positions where having numbers of quality players is a good thing. But yeah, that's an interesting thing, the way to go. Like looking at how Isaiah Adams does opposed to Chase Besantis in this preseason game, or if honestly the Cardinals are just content with, slow rolling Besantis. As long as Isaiah Adams is being competent, they're more than happy to roll with him until Besantis is 100% ready.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you look at and you go, what makes the most sense for the organization, and what's the most important thing for the player. And with Besantis, there's a lot of questions about if guys can hold him off. But like you mentioned with Burke and Melton, that's kind of a good problem to have, right? Like having 3 competent guards is way better than having one or a half of one.
We want to see, it's always fun to see the back of the roster guys perform well, because then it gives us a good conversation discussion about who's going to make the roster. Like if Jalen Brooks has another good game, or say Owen Papo shows up, or if it's Austin Keys again, or Eku Leota as the last edge. It's always fun. I want to see bubble guys show out to prove that they're worth the conversation about them making the roster as well.
Right. And you look at that and overall, this is a team that has a lot of roster openings. It's not the worst first 22 we've ever seen for this organization, but the back 31 do leave quite a bit of questions. So guys like Jalen Brooks, guys like that you look at, whether it's how long does Gardner Minshew hang around, right? Like does Carson Beck do enough that you go, right? What happens at corner if a guy like Garrett Williams can't start on the roster? Is it going to be Keitrell Clark? Is it going to be Kalen King? Like, all those are good questions to ask, and see these guys kind of play and have an opportunity to really assert themselves, because so far, there's not a lot of guys that you are looking at and going, hey, if Will Johnson goes down, I'm confident, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh gosh. So that's the other thing, right?
Yep. And the final result doesn't really matter, that we want to see crisp play from everyone, obviously. But with that, we will wrap up this edition of the Rise Up Seer podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. We'll be back next week to talk about this preseason game against the Raiders and more as we get closer to the beginning of the season. And until then, that's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms, so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be Red, See Red, and of course, Rise Up, See Red.